Our film opening has the genre of horror and has conventions from Dexter, Saw 6, and The Conjuring, such as bloody, killing, and torture scenes. We used conventions from Dexter to show that our killer's OCD and likes everything to be straight and clean. We showed this in one of our scenes during the clip, where he slowly unpacks the tools and chooses one at random. We also used conventions from Saw 6 as where the victims are tied up before they are tortured and killed. We use this in our film opening to show that our actor has been kidnapped, as he was taped up to the chair and the chair had dust sheets. We also used conventions from The Conjuring, where the scene where the possessed woman is tied up to the chair and has got blood around her wrists and on her face. At first, when we started filming our opening sequence, we used fake blood on the actor to show that he's been beaten up and is being tortured a little bit. But in our final product, we decided not to use the blood because it wouldn't have been shown in the film, because we used a black and white filter.
Our media product represents horror and thriller social groups and has been given an age rating of 15. This means the people who watch our film opening will see some violence and strong horror scenes and some bloody and scenes with strong language. Our opening sequence is a 2-minute clip that contains 2 characters, one that is a serial killer and one that has been kidnapped. Even though we could have chosen from a few actors that had the same 3 periods as us, it would be hard to find an actor at first who had the skills to be a good victim, which is why we chose Lewis to be our victim, as he has taken drama for GCSE and A-levels and has the skills to do a good job. We chose Massin in our group to be the serial killer, but when we were filming with Lewis, we had a few problems as he was unavailable to attend a few sessions, so we had to scrap him from our film and we had to find a new actor, which is when Arandeep came into the scene. He wasn't as experienced as Lewis, but he had a few acting classes in drama GCSE. Massin was able to act as a typical serial killer and was able to do a good job. The costumes the actors were wearing were similar to Dexter, where he was wearing a lab coat to protect himself from the blood and to keep himself clean. And the victim was wearing a shirt, trousers, and formal shoes, but we adjusted the clothing to make him look a bit more scruffy as he had just been kidnapped. With the research gathered, my group and I decided that Twisted Pictures would be the best company to help distribute our film. This is because most of the films that Twisted Pictures had distributed were successful horror films, such as the Saw franchise and Texas Chainsaw 3D. This led us to believe that Twisted Pictures will have a clear interest in distributing our film, and as they have been very successful in their previous films, they have been able to build a good and respectable reputation within the 11 years since being established. Our film showed key connotations of a typical horror mystery film, which would need a lot of technical attention with the editing for the jump cuts and effects between camera shots. If an unpopular distribution company was to distribute our film, it would not get the right attention needed to produce the correct standards and will not be shown to the right audience. The Saw franchise received huge media attention, and we would wish the same for our film. Another reason why we would choose Twisted Pictures to help distribute our film is because our film is a high-budget horror film. Distribution companies with a low budget, such as I&D DVD Limited, may not have the ability to distribute a high-budget film like ours.
We devised a number of ways that determine the kind of audience best suitable for our film opening. Massin produced a questionnaire to allow our group to understand what audiences expected from a psychological thriller. The results were useful as it helped us implement techniques to convey our film successfully as a psychological thriller. One of the main reasons we chose to target a teenage age group is because our questionnaire results revealed that people of ages 13 to 17 were engaged and interested in our chosen genre. Although the results demonstrated that the most popular genre is comedy, we decided to base our opening on thriller and horror, which is different from the favorite, but nevertheless, people still like it. This is because we found that comedy is much harder to establish in an opening, which was too challenging and risky. As we agreed to film a psychological thriller, our research consisted of watching a variation of psychological thrillers to keep us informed with the generic conventions of the genre. We found that most psychological thrillers were targeted towards people of ages 18 and over. However, we decided to target our film towards a much younger target audience of 15 and over. The reason why these films have an age rating of 18 is because of their high level of adult content, such as intense violence, sexual content, and strong use of language. All of these are addressed in the 7 Saw series. However, we realized that some psychological thrillers, such as Final Destination, did not include any explicit content. It was more based on violence, betrayal, and deception, which are typical themes of a psychological thriller. We needed to make sure our opening was available to most people, and therefore giving it an age rating of 15 was a perfect way to make it available to our target audience. Furthermore, we aim to attract an audience of 15 and over because we wanted males and females to enjoy our film. Our film contains aspects of psychological problems such as sharp blades and tools without including any explicit content because it would break the rules and conventions of a film rated 15. As a class, we watched everyone's film openings and gained feedback. This was useful as our target audience reflected the ages of the people in the classroom. Therefore, it gave us a perception of how well the target audience was attracted, if they enjoyed the sequence, and whether they would continue to watch it. All of the feedback was positive with some areas to improve. The information on target audiences matched the previous audience research conducted during the planning and research stages. This showed that relevant genre conventions and themes were used to attract a teenage audience. However, it may have been beneficial to collect feedback from a larger range of age groups to find out their thoughts and opinions. Most people said that the standard of mise-en-scène was the best element of our film opening as a thriller, whereas some people said that the worst element was the acting, such as the main character breathing too heavily with some people laughing, whereas other people said that the acting was not bad. This may suggest that some people may not be an appropriate audience for the film. Almost everyone claimed that they would continue to watch further on, and their attention was formed by the suspense. There was only one line of dialogue in our film opening, therefore we had to address and engage the audience through visual effects and soundtrack. The soundtrack used was moody and relevant to our storyline, which was an important factor in relation to our genre. From this, we concluded that the soundtrack was one of the main elements which formed suspense, and most people stated that the scenes that the music reflected the most suspense actions, such as the unrolling of blades in a cloth. Originally, our group agreed that the ending should introduce a second character entering the room aggressively with emphasis on door movement, such as door slamming, as we thought that it would build tension as it builds to the storyline. However, because of the nature of our location, there was no door to film action. We decided to use an alternative action. We adjusted the storyline so that the action leads up to the ending. The reason why we decided to do this is because it builds suspense within the audience. Furthermore, our film opening is targeted towards people of ages 15 and over. However, it is more orientated towards males, which gives the audience to identify and relate with the main character. He is ambitious and innocent in terms of personality, someone not all teenage males can relate to. The nature and state of the boy captured and tied to a chair makes the audience sympathize for him. Overall, we received mainly positive feedback, which concluded that our film opening attracted the audience we aimed for.
We used a range of different types of technologies throughout our media opening. We learned a lot through this. For filming, we used a Canon EOS 100D camera. This was good as it gave us a clear picture and helped the scene flow. We used the 18 to 55mm lens, which is a zoom lens, which helped us focus a scene. We used a TH650 DV tripod, which helped with features like panning. For editing, we used Final Cut Pro, which enabled us to change color, cut scenes, and change them to how we wanted it to be. For sound, we used a horror/thriller soundtrack, which helped us create an eerie ambience. Since the preliminary task, we have improved significantly through every aspect of the filmmaking. We're looking back at the mise-en-scène in our preliminary task. We saw that the lighting was simple, as we only used a general room light. If we compare this with our opening, we can see that the lighting has been arranged and is properly lit when color corrected. This helped the scene flow with continuity. In our prelim, we didn't focus on props, but we did this significantly in our opening by adding a long shot of the different tools, which consisted of a hacksaw, a Stanley knife, chisel, and a normal saw. In our prelim, we didn't use many camera shots. If we compare this with our opening, we used a variety of shots, such as close-ups, pans, extreme close-ups, and mid-shots. This helped us capture the scene from different angles, which helped us with the continuity. The editing in our prelim was basic, with simple cuts, and so we improved this in our opening by using a flash effect to move from the opening to the credits. In our prelim, we only used dialogues, and so we improved this in our opening by adding a non-diegetic soundtrack, which helped to add tension to our opening. We used one line of dialogue because it made the torturer seem more mysterious. In the prelim, we didn't pay any attention to the costume. In our opening, we paid closer attention. For example, the antagonist wore a white lab coat to signify that he keeps himself clean, and the coat gives us an insight on the antagonist and his past being from a mental institution.